Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are digging into one of the most powerful stories in Turkish history, the epic tale of Kür Şad and his 40 warriors. It's a story of ultimate rebellion and sacrifice. But here's the question. Is the hero we all know and celebrate the same person who actually lived?
So how does that happen? How does a failed raid from the 7th century become this massive symbol of heroism? Well, that's what we're here to figure out. We're going to see how a real, documented event was totally transformed over 1,300 years into a national legend. Let's get into it.
So, here's our roadmap. We'll start with the legend itself. Then, we'll do some detective work to find the real historical figure. We'll relive that dramatic palace raid, see how history got turned into a legend, and finally, understand why this symbol is still so powerful today.
All right, first up, let's dive into the legend, the story as it's most famously told. And it is quite a story, all about courage, sacrifice, and that burning desire to be free. The story goes something like this. You've got Kür Şad and his 40 loyal men. They're Göktürk nobles, basically captives in the Chinese court. And they hatch this incredibly daring plan to fight for their people's freedom, even though the odds are completely stacked against them. It's an amazing tale of heroism. But is it true? I mean, did a hero named Kür Şad actually walk the earth back in the 7th century? To find the answer, we have to peel back all those layers of myth and dig into the actual historical records. And this is where things get really, really interesting. To find the truth, we can't look in Turkish epics. We have to go to 7th century Chinese sources. And what they describe isn't a legend. It's a very real and much more complicated person.
So right away, we hit a major plot twist. The name we all know, Kür Şad, it's nowhere to be found in the old records, not once. Instead, they tell the story of a Göktürk noble named Chieh-she-shuai. And this Chieh-she-shuai, he wasn't just some random guy. He was a Turgan. Think of it like a prince. He was part of the ruling Ashina clan, and his father was the great Göktürk ruler Chieh-she-shuai. So he was legit royalty. But when you dig into what the Chinese sources actually say about him, well, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Yes, he was a prince, and he was even made a general in the Tang court. But the court historians also called him deceitful. They even claim he lost favor because he falsely accused his own brother of treason. That is not exactly the flawless hero we were picturing, right? Okay, so now we know the man, or at least the historical version of him. Let's get to the main event, that absolutely wild, desperate raid on the Chinese emperor's summer palace back in the year 639. You can just feel the tension of that night. They had a plan, a classic ambush to take out the emperor. But then, disaster strikes. A massive storm rolls in, and their original plan is totally shot. They know that by dawn, they'll be discovered, so they have to make a choice. They go for broke, launching a frontal assault on the palace. It was brave, it was chaotic, and in the end, it was doomed. So let's be crystal clear about this. From a military point of view, the raid was a complete and total failure. But, and this is a huge but, its political impact was another story entirely. I mean, this event sent an absolute earthquake through the Tang court. The emperor was seriously spooked. It forced him to completely rethink everything he thought he knew about the Göktürks living right under his nose. And the fallout was huge. We're talking about the fate of over 100,000 Göktürks who were living near the capital. Because of this one raid, their lives were turned completely upside down when they were all forced to relocate. It is a pretty incredible story, right? This journey from a messy, failed historical event to something so much bigger. By the way, if you're enjoying this and you want us to keep digging into stories like this one, do us a huge favor and hit that follow, like, and share button. It really helps a lot. Okay, so we have this failed raid that caused massive political change. But we still haven't answered the biggest question. How did that story become a story about a national hero? The answer, it turns out, isn't in the 7th century. We have to jump forward, way forward, to the 20th century. You see, this transformation wasn't some slow, organic evolution over centuries. Nope, it was basically the work of one very influential man, a writer named Hüseyin Nihal Atsis. He's the one who found this little-known event in old Chinese records. He's the one who gave our hero that powerful, unforgettable name, Kür Şad. And then he wrote the novel that changed everything. What Atsis did was, in a way, kind of brilliant. He took this obscure historical fact, this
footnote, and he polished it and shaped it until it became the perfect story for a modern idea. It became a powerful symbol for Turklik, or Turkishness, and for the nationalist dream of Turanism, this idea of uniting all Turkic peoples.
So that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. Why this story? Why does the legend of Kür Şad, more than so many others, still have such a powerful grip on the imagination today?
Well, it's because it taps into something really deep and universal, doesn't it? This idea of fighting for your freedom no matter the odds, of sacrificing absolutely everything for your people, and maybe most importantly, this powerful belief that a fight for what's right is never a failure, even when you lose.
And just listen to the monument Atsiz imagined for them. A single stone and 41 swords. Wow. I mean, how powerful is that? It's so simple, so stark, so heroic. And that's exactly the image he wanted to burn into everyone's mind.
So, let's just quickly recap the whole wild journey. We start with a real guy, Chieh-she-shuai, and a real failed raid back in 639. Centuries later, a writer, Nihal Atsiz, finds the story, rebrands the hero as Kür Şad, and turns him into a legend. And that legend becomes this incredible symbol of Turkishness and the undying spirit of freedom.
And that leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about, doesn't it? What does it mean when one of a nation's most beloved hero stories isn't about winning, but about fighting the impossible fight and losing? What does that tell us about who we are and about the power of a good story? Something to chew on. Thanks for watching.